philosophy, and we're so proud to be helping you with HubSpot. Orange, you so glad that it's time for the HubSpot helpline.
I was muted there for a minute because I was trying to listen to the rest of that amazing song. Welcome back to the HubSpot helpline. It is Wednesday at 11:18 Eastern. People make fun of me for adding the time zones. I'm joined by George B. Thomas. Looks a little different. He's grown his beard out. Actually, George is on vacation today. So, George, we know you're watching. Thank you for tuning in. In his stead is the brains behind the scenes a lot of the time, unless George summons him with the Imperial March theme, Chris Carolyn. We have Mr. HubSpot Orange Hat himself. There's been a lot of orange hats recently. Shout out Kyle. Kyle Jepson is here. And last in order of announcement, but certainly not least, Casey Greyhoundress of the helpline, Hawkins, who is going to be doing a lot of talking today, which I cannot be more excited for. How are we?
She is the favorite.
She is the favorite. It's not even close. And I'm sorry to inform the rest of you of that, but it is not that close. She's the person that brings the viewers, as they say.
I already told Chris this earlier today, but when I went to panic and wear orange today, I put on my shirt, which says Queen of Lead Scoring, which my friend Trisha made for me, which was very nice. But then my first call of the day was a call about a client I built a lead score for, and I immediately felt like self-conscious about the shirt, given the context of the call. It's more of a funny bit, but it feels awkward when you're actually talking about a lead score that you built and wearing it.
Well, I was messing around with my bobblemare, so the bobblehead that I have. He wears orange too, and I left this. I think I had my camera pointed down, but I left it, let's just say, right here. And you want to talk about a weird non sequitur icebreaker on a call? Is like, hey, whatever the intro was, and then they're just like, I have a question. Is there a tiny figurine of yourself in the bottom right corner of your screen? So, yeah, we all wear orange around here today. Chris, how are you?
I'm doing good, man. Lots of stuff going on inside and outside of the HubSpot ecosystem right now, building every day. Excited to be with you all today.
Kyle, I want to ask about Joan, but I will restrain myself until later in the show. How are you today on this Wednesday?
Good. Yeah, it is cold again here in Boston, but we're all right.
The weather is rude. I'm so upset. The fact that it was truly 70 degrees last week in Maryland, and today it was 25 degrees.
Yeah, weirdly, yesterday I was talking to my brother who lives in the San Francisco Bay Area, asking him how his St. Patrick's Day was, and he said it was 90 degrees there, which they never ever achieve. And certainly if they did, March would not be the month for it. So, yep, it's all broken.
It's heating up, it's cooling down. The temperature is changing everywhere, but one thing is for certain. We're going to have an update of the week for you, and we're going to start the show with that right now. With no further ado, Casey, how are you and Claude ready for the update of the week?
Claude didn't write my full script, so we're fine. Everything's fine. But we had lots of updates this week. We always do. I don't know how many because Claude didn't count them for me. And I could have probably counted them myself, but I have a robot that does that normally. I do know that we had a lot of really great updates. A couple of quality of life ones. A couple of my favorite quality of life updates this week were the property history and association history improvements. The experience is a little more clear. It comes up in the sidebar. If you're reviewing those histories, especially for the admins watching, it just is a little more clean and easy for you to reference. Those are all the words that I have there. The other update, the add line items to deals through workflow actions, that went live. That has been a big deal. And Chris and I had talked about it this morning. There's a lot of great people have been working around that issue for a long time. So now having it in platform is just going to make it easier for teams that are adding line items to deals and trying to do that in an automated way. And then we had a little bit of a side quest just this morning around the difference between line items and products, which if we have time, I'd be happy to get into because I personally still get confused. But with all of that being said, my update of the week is agents in CRM cards. I actually really panicked when Claude wasn't helping me decide the update this week. And then I remembered this one and I was like, wait, this is just is the update of the week. Like there's not even any question. You can now add agents, any agents that you have added to your portal, you can add them directly into your views like this here. This is really great for enabling your team to actually use the agents. Prior to this, you had to kind of go to this little special agent area inside of HubSpot, which not only was a little more hard to navigate to, but it just didn't match people's natural workflows. Bringing the agents into the records directly now is going to help teams actually utilize the agents more often and within the context of their existing workflows. Chris and I went through an example around the company research agent, which I think is a really easy low-hanging fruit use case for this specifically. You know, if your rep is reviewing a company record, doing outreach, having that agent already in the company record, so then it's just a click of a button to get the company research added to the context, so then continuing your conversation from there. And there's a ton of agents now. You can build your custom ones, but the ones out of the box are really great. And a lot of them still are technically in beta, so they don't use credits, which means use them, get their value now without the credit usage. And then you have the chance to kind of try before you buy with all of those agents.
Love it. Kyle, your thoughts?
Great stuff. I don't know. What do you want from me? Another thing, I mean, if we're talking about stuff that's new in HubSpot or HubSpot adjacent, a couple days ago, Dharmesh published a video. So Dharmesh is co-founder and CTO of HubSpot. He posted a video to YouTube, talked about it on LinkedIn. HubCode is this thing he's running in sort of a limited private beta, but I did get access to it, where you could just talk to it and it will build custom apps for HubSpot, which is pretty nuts. And as that comes closer to being a thing more people can access, I'm really excited for that. At the Admin Hug, we have done a couple of sessions on custom CRM cards, and unanimously, the audience is always like, this is a little beyond my technical ken, but it's interesting, and I wish I could build some stuff. And now if you could just like talk to a thing and it would build the cards and the apps for you, that would open up a lot of extensibility and customizability for a lot of admins who otherwise wouldn't be able to do that. So very excited to keep an eye on how that develops. So
it's like Whisper plus access to building whatever in HubSpot, like Claude Cowork plus Whisper is kind of the thought there.
It's interesting. He's built it on top of Agent.ai, which is like his pet project right now.
Right.
And I have no idea what it's doing in the background, but it's clearly doing a lot of stuff in the background. I think it's using a lot of different agents. In his demo on that he published on YouTube, he like generated the first version of his card and then took a screenshot of it and fed it in back into the tool and was like, hey, can you rearrange? Can you combine these into a single field? And then it did it. And so it's really smart. It's using, you know, top of the line models across all the major LLMs, I think, and it's pretty next level.
Is there? Yeah. Go ahead, Chris.
It's really awesome, and like two things. Like I think he's able to do that, and what we're finding in the work that we're doing, like there's this interesting moment where, you know, HubSpot was always the place where you couldn't customize a lot. Right. It was always very opinionated. And that's why most of us loved it, because not everybody wants a blank slate to get themselves into trouble, you know, building super complex platforms when they don't really need it. But now as it's grown, it's become more complex in the extensibility, and now you can customize the heck out of it. But you're doing that with all of this tooling that it's still coming from HubSpot, the platform. So we've been doing a lot of UI extension work, right? Which is the cards that, like, part of what HubCode can create for you is these UI extensions. And because it's all HubSpot tooling and modules and just like an agent.ai, easily, like, it's one of the best ways to access HubSpot tooling like that. Like, hopefully for most, it's like, don't worry about how it works. Just go and ask for the card.
Yeah.
And like plug it into your HubSpot. Right.
Okay. So I do worry about how it works.
Well, stop it.
So
yeah.
This is maybe this will help some of the audience. Maybe it'll help me. Maybe it'll help Casey. Maybe it'll help nobody. I don't know. But with that, there is if you can just talk to something and build an app, right? This question is rooted in the idea of like customization is kind of the opposite of standardization. And so in order to standardize a result, things need to be less custom so that people can know what they're looking at. This is like Olympic grading and all of that, right? I don't think this will apply necessarily to Agent AI because it's within HubSpot, but is there danger or like of building apps or building things that just by talking to them that override or that prevent other agents apps within HubSpot from doing what they're intended to do? And you start having too much customization that gets in the way of.
That's a really interesting question. And I'm just realizing how interesting it is right now as I'm talking. So this is all half formed. But as I said, this week, Dharmesh came out with this video about HubCode. Here's how you can just talk and customize your HubSpot. This is part of a series he's doing where he talks founder to founder. And the previous one, or maybe two ago, was why you should not vibe code your own CRM. And these two things are in interesting tension, right? On the one hand, you want to buy a CRM. His conclusion there is because you want to focus as many calories as possible on serving your customers, not serving yourself.
Which I agree with. I watched that one just as a quick aside. I watched that. That's why hearing this video that you were mentioning was like, it seemed like he had a slightly different opinion.
But just stepping away from HubSpot for a minute, I've been building stuff with Claude like everybody is doing these days. And what I've learned is like, I can have an idea and I can say, Claude, build this thing. And it'll be like, yep, go. And it'll build it. Right. But what I'm finding is I get better results if I say, Claude, I want to build this thing. First, let's do some deep research on what, established principles should be worked into this particular thing. And then we build a very different thing. Right. And if people don't pause and take that step, then you say, AI, build this thing, and it'll just build it. And all of your assumptions and all your misconceptions will be hard coded into that thing, right? And so to your point, Rob, if people are just talking to HubSpot and saying, you know what I want? A card that does this exact thing. HubSpot will be like, here it is, enjoy, right? That is scary to me. And it's interesting too. I just got access to this yesterday, and Dharmesh was like, I want you to try it out and see, like, is it at a level where it'll help admins or does it have gaps? And by happenstance, yesterday at the admin hug, we just did some networking, and Allison, I don't know if you're watching, Allison was like, I have this calling integration. If someone calls in on a phone number that's different from the phone number on their contact record, we get a new contact record created that doesn't have a name or any information. We have to manually figure out who it is and merge it in. And so when Dharmesh gave me access to this thing, I was like, hey, great. And I just said to HubCode, hey, can you build a thing that'll look through call transcripts and pull out any indication of name or company and then check to see if that contact or company already exists and suggest a merge if it does? And it's like, yeah, here you go. Here's your card. And I installed it, but I don't have any data that represents that use case, right? Like, I don't know if the card actually works or not. I'm going to ask Claude maybe if it can somehow use APIs to build some broken contact records that only have a phone number and a call transcript to see if it then works. But right, you run into these weird cases where it's very easy to bring something into existence. It's incredibly difficult to get it to the state where it's actually solving the problem you built it to solve.
Yeah.
Casey, you look like you were about to respond.
I think that's really, I like that you're pausing to think there because that is the gap I really like when Claude will ask me questions. So sometimes I'll send Claude a prompt. I'll be like, hey, I got this email. Can you help me with the follow-up? And I think this is just because of the level of Claude that I'm paying for now. But regardless, it will say like, yes, I can. Here, can you fill in like these blanks for me? Because I am a lazy person who will send Claude an email and say, help me reply. And Claude's like, saying what?
Yeah, I need more information. That's what I really like about Claude. I use Claude instead of ChatGPT because I feel like it's better at pushing back. It'll be like, whoa, you thought about this.
Exactly. But so I think it'll be interesting to see how that progresses, and as potentially more tools, whether that's Hubcode or otherwise, are able to proactively take those steps back, especially when you're working with humans who are sometimes impatient and excited and just want to see the thing live, not really thinking through all the implications.
Yeah, I think that's definitely the other side of this, is the context piece. And I was having an interesting conversation with the product manager from the Commerce Hub team about quoting and what they're doing around that. And like, everybody's kind of starting to understand like the done for you stuff. Like, don't race like towards that. Like, there's so much opportunity in coaching and in creating these spaces for AI to say, do we have all the context that we need right now? And that could be the human asking. And that's why AI is asking questions. Or when the stuff is on the center of a CRM record, right? Like, can we build an agent that says, well, we're on a deal right now. You've told us in the past that these 15 things have to be true, like including call transcripts and meetings, and this group of things are missing. And the person be like, oh yeah, we got that. Let's get that in and now run it. Because that's where, whether it's Hubcode, an agent in the middle of the record, the UI extensions we've been doing, you can do some amazing stuff in HubSpot with HubSpot natively and custom. None of it matters. Like, none of it, if your data and context is not good and there's gaps everywhere. And it's just like, that's why we've been saying for a long time. And now you have AI to help you do this. Document your processes. One of the ways that we learn this, and I think people are going to learn very quickly with Hubcode, because you're using this different UI tool set, there's a way to use, like, put fields on a card that receive data and then use the API to fill in the property, right? But it's not the actual property. So the autocomplete and all the protection mechanisms that are related to how you built that property to work, like, will not apply and help you in that scenario. So we've had it's been a fun challenge to understand the balance of serving the needs of the user, where I want it to look like this, and I want it to do this, right? And so we're able to, and this is where the configurability comes in, and it's so much fun in HubSpot right now. You can put super custom stuff right next to a built-in CRM card. So it looks exactly the same, except we're taking advantage of all of the work that the product team has done to, make this great platform. So, get your data right, folks.
I'm going to be the comic relief here. Maybe it feels very much like getting data right is a problem potentially for future me. As I might have said that a week ago, a year ago. Future me, though, his name is Claude, because I don't care about that, right? They're saying that almost in jest. The point I'm trying to make is, if technical competency is no longer like a competitive advantage because Claude can do whatever you can think of, and you don't have to think of anything because you have access to everybody else's thoughts via the internet, like, what is the competitive differentiator? And it seems scarily to me like willpower is that thing. Like, I have seen Claude say I'm not going to execute that. I was, by the way, Chris, you'd be proud. I was working with Claude Code. I said, like, hey, set this thing up. And it said, this is a dangerous command. And I said, do it anyway. And then I was like, oh, I can't believe I said that. And it did. It figured out a workaround that was not good for me, the internet at large, humanity. Like, it was not a good idea, right? And so I would like just close my laptop, like panic for a second, and then thought, if you didn't really have another option other than seeing how far you could push what Claude would do by just saying, do it, do it, do it, do it. I am commanding you to do it. Does willpower like become the thing that can either accelerate you? I mean, judgment, right? Casey said a minute ago, like, I suggest that you do A, B, and C before you send this email. Kyle said the same thing, right? Like, let's slow down. Let's think about how this could impact other things. Does willpower play a part in that as like a problem for me now or future me? Future customer, because we're transitioning into some letters.
Right. I like judgment as the word because judgment comes from expertise, no matter how much you have or don't have. And like, I think human domain expertise is now like, if the build is easy, which it is, like the human domain expertise required to know within your own business, within the people that you work with, within your customer base, within your vertical, your horizontal, like wherever it is, like that's the context that is human specific right now. Like no matter how much some AI companies will tell you otherwise, to where, Trisha and I were talking about shadow data yesterday, like whether it's shadow data or shadow context, there is additional context in the heads of humans that are involved in the process. And the challenge of understanding where and how to put them in the loop of AI, like I think is the number one skill needed from every AI orchestrator or admin, moving forward.
Something I'll say here too is this is something we were bad at before we had AI. Right? Like you pull your teammates together, you decide to do this thing. Nobody's qualified to do it, but you assume you just know how and it'll work out. Right? Occasionally you have someone who's like, should we do some research? Should we pull in some experts? Right? But mostly it's like, no, we don't have time. Let's just do the best we can with what we have and we'll iterate later. Right? And with AI, the problem is that's accelerated. Right? Now a poorly defined process or project that may have taken weeks or months can now be done in an afternoon, and you can pound out 5 or 10 of those in a week. And now you're just getting exponentially farther from where you actually want to be. So I think this really is like a habit we will have to build into ourselves, no matter what guardrails and how much wisdom and prudence are coded into the models. Like we ourselves have to get clearer on what it is we're trying to accomplish and what is needed to get there.
Yeah. Casey and I were just talking about that this morning, actually. Like the idea of a business saying, okay, here's our plan for scoring, right? And then they start executing that plan. And then they're like, maybe we should bring some scoring experts in here.
Maybe that score was just totally made up and didn't mean anything.
But then as we do, we're going to finish this plan that no experts were involved in the creation of. It's like, and that's, I think, like our value as we shift into the next topic, Rob. I think anybody helping people with HubSpot right now at any level, you have to be like, who had the expertise involved in the decision? Like, when was it made? How do we make this plan? Like, understanding that stuff is so important because it's so easy to just run 100 miles an hour in any direction you want now. And like, well, that's what humans like need a lot of help with right now.
Yes, I had a Chernobyl reference, but I will save that for later. Great miniseries, by the way. There's a lot of draws. Anyway, yeah, I mean, you might call those people with expertise freelancers. You might call them consultants. You might call them service providers. You might not call them. You might call them something different in August. There have been a couple of letters written, open letters to HubSpot. Gregory Dirick wrote one, and our very own Chris Carolyn penned a response. Before we even open this up, I appreciate in a world where you can run 100 miles an hour into somebody else's face via social media. I appreciate the like respectful, eloquent discourse. Taking the time to write a letter back and forth is amazing in 2026. So I appreciate that. Like, it was very civil. I think reading both and seeing the comments that you're aligned on like the problem, and maybe some terminology is kind of like what we do next is kind of where there needs to be a little more alignment or understanding. But the cost aside, I don't have the best example because I have not been a freelancer or a paid consultant, but I've worked with an MSP service provider at Red Partners, and I now work at Supered. So I would like for Casey to explain this, kind of starting off. Kyle is here as our humanitarian and representative in a way of HubSpot, so that it doesn't get too weird or violent. I don't think it will. But Chris wrote the letter in response, so I'd like Casey to kind of set the stage for why letters were needed, what is happening. You can discuss the cost or kind of the overall sentiment, because I did see that you responded to Gregory saying this was very needed, and it was on a lot of people's minds right now.
So HubSpot recently announced that they're
adding greyhounds.
Everybody wants to be in this conversation, like even the dogs.
Even the dog, yes.
That the partner provider program is being sunset in August. So for as long as I was paying attention, there were two kind of ways to become a HubSpot partner. You could become a provider, which is a lower barrier of entry. You have to have like a paid subscription or something like that. But it's pretty cheap basically to like become that, and you kind of just more or less have to sign up. I don't know. Is there like $25? I don't know. It was not, if there was even a cost, it was fairly.
Hey, he's here.
Hello, Gregory. However,
it was the cost of starter. Like
the cost of starter. Yeah. So that's where the 25 is coming from, because that's like 25 a month or something at the customer platform. It's 25.
Anyway.
Pretty cheap, cost of starter. And then there was the larger partner program, the solution that was solutions providers, and then the other was partners, right? So the provider program going away means that anyone who's currently a provider has basically two options. They can become a partner, which is now $400 a month minimum in HubSpot software spend, or you can just pay HubSpot $400 if you don't want to pay for the software to become a part of that. And then there's also some requirements around the selling of HubSpot. That's another part of the partner program itself. Whereas the providers were not held to any sales goals. You could maintain your provider status without necessarily having commission. I feel like I butchered all of that, but
you did great. Yeah, so I'll just reference some comments that I've seen and then open it up to Kyle, and I'll save the bearded man for last because I feel like he has a lot to say. I saw somebody say this is not a problem at all. If you can't afford $400 a month, I mean, that should be 2 billable hours maybe. So I saw that comment. Like, it's just going to weed out people that are not serious, or that are, to Angie O'Dowd's point, like the majority of partners that exist in that sphere aren't engaged. They're not active. It would be removing a lot of legacy people that just at some point in the past were a partner and had access to these like partner seats, right? That enabled access, but you didn't have to be as involved, and they weren't driving value for customers as partners. So I don't know if there was like a bad name with partners, and that's why the need for like freelancer versus partner versus solutions partner versus expert versus profoundly why there's so many different admin, why there's so many different things that you can call somebody that might have access to a portal. I've also seen the response that says that's a lot of money. I mean, it's a 5,000% jump. I'm not very good at math, but from $25, $15, whatever it is, to that amount of cost for people that are trying to make money, make a living from doing this. that's an extensive increase to that feels like HubSpot is maybe didn't consider that ramification. I have not been paid to do freelance work, thank God, to all the customers that I have not negatively impacted out there. But Kyle, from your perspective, I feel like you can speak to this from both sides. You kind of have a unique spot. Obviously, you represent HubSpot, but you more than most, I mean, the executive team does good, have a really good pulse on the ecosystem, solutions providers, people that generate value. Like you, what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, well, I will lead with a slight disclaimer saying my focus always has been pretty explicitly actual like in-house admins, end users of HubSpot. I think because that is my focus, the sort of content I provide is very relevant and helpful to people who are in this provider world. And I get a fair number of like actual full solution partners who like my stuff too, because it's not exactly what they need, but it's better than what they're finding elsewhere. And so this directly impacts a huge number of my first level connections, but it impacts them in a way that I don't have deep knowledge on, right? I don't sit and ask people very often about how their business is going that they've built on top of HubSpot. Maybe I should, but it's just not a thing I've really done. So with all of that as context, there are a lot of interesting and sort of complicated things going on here. Chris wrote an excellent post talking about incentives, partially talking about incentives, among other things. I'll let him address that. But I do think HubSpot is also trying to address this issue. Rob, you just mentioned, Greg in the chat here, 3,000 dormant partners in the European Union. We have a lot of people who are providers in name, but aren't actually doing anything, apparently. And that makes it really hard for customers to find people who can actually help them, right? And so there is, I think, a need for a change. And as Chris will likely say shortly, there's a lot of noise in the ecosystem for anyone trying to find help. But HubSpot has chosen one particular signal as like, these are the people that we're not weeding out. And for a lot of folks, that is not the signal they would have chosen if they were in that seat. The question I pose, and I don't mean this as a challenge, I mean it sincerely, is what would that signal look like? What would it mean? How can HubSpot tell if you are actively providing value to people? I recognize and I empathize with people who are like, selling licenses is not the same as providing value, right? Like, I get that. It is a simple and admittedly ham-fisted approach to incentives that makes sense for an enterprise the size of HubSpot. I, in my heart, would love to see a program that nurtures people who are providing value in other ways. It's just very hard to know what that would look like, to define it systematically and scale it, and understand exactly what the shape of it would be. So I have not been involved in any of the conversations that led up to this. When the news broke, it was news to me, just like it was news to all of you. But I have since talked with a lot of people involved, and this is something they've put a lot of thought into, and it's just really hard for HubSpot as a corporation to know how to do something better than this. So I think that's enough for me. I would love to hear Chris's take.
Yeah, I don't think the cost conversation is a productive one, because it ends up, like you mentioned, Rob, somebody saying $400 a month is just 2 billable hours. Like, the people that suggest they're most impacted by this are usually not charging $200 an hour, right? And that's a part of what I talked about in the letter. Like, they probably should be, first of all, right? But it's been so hard to understand the value of doing HubSpot work and HubSpot help, right? That, and I love having these conversations because I just get more, just thinking about it differently. What's happening, like I mentioned earlier with the HubSpot platform, like, we've loved it because of its very opinionated approach to delivering platforms like it to the business. But that opinion inside of HubSpot has been like, mess around and find out, right? So click around, it's safe, explore, 10 ways to do just about anything, figure out whichever way worked for you. And I think that also means less intention, right? And we are moving towards a much more intentional platform and ecosystem that is required to meet this moment right now. So just signing up willy-nilly for a program, whether it's $15 a month, I've known people treated it like that for $400 a month, right? Like just to get the badge or, just to get the partner seat, right? Like it requires more than that for somebody to actually get value out of HubSpot. And I know there's data in the background that supports that very much. They know how important adoption is and stuff like that. And that's why a lot of consultants and coaches have better relationships with the CS team than we do with the sales team, right? But even there, in that data, it's so hard to understand. Like, it's built for marketing and sales use cases. So somebody might be using tickets or custom objects or, some other part of the platform that doesn't necessarily show the kind of value being created. I think I mentioned in a comment earlier today, like the partner program is a sales channel. And HubSpot needs that sales channel. Coaches and consultants not designed for sales.
That's what I'm most familiar with, right? So I understand like the different tiers and the MER thresholds and be able to drive value and either expand into new hubs or usage of the platform. So I understand that. Just to interrupt with some ideas, because there's this like what's next in this looming August date, and we're running out of time. 2 sports analogies. So Kyle, I hope you're ready for this, right? World Baseball Classic was yesterday. Baseball, it's always been said like 300 as an average is good. I think Angie O'Dowd was like 70. There's 3K dormant partners in the EU. That paired with HubSpot has been incredibly progressive in doing a lot of this. So in my mind, there's not a world that exists where they don't like generate something else to where people like Gregory and people, maybe the 3 out of 10 that maybe 400 would be too much. Maybe the cost isn't the issue. It's just having that access and providing real value to people. They figured out something to do there. That's like a junior or individual partner program that doesn't require an agency or a service partner type of relationship, but there's something like that.
Right.
The other, go ahead, Chris.
Yeah. And that was the original 2 years ago, asking for like a coach partner type, right? Because I heard on a podcast, like, hey, maybe in the future we'll have different types of partners, right? So that immediately I went there and there was a lot, like there's dots you can connect, but again, it's hard because other people are already getting incentivized for those same dots. But I think what we're seeing here, and if you can break it down by like, if we're not a sales resource, like it makes sense for us not to be used in the sales channel and for HubSpot to spend resources on supporting us inside of the sales channel. So where do we live? We live in the community, like first and foremost. Kyle, are there anybody inside of the walls of HubSpot responsible for supporting the community around HubSpot?
Yes.
Right. So there are resources, like they're just different resources. And that's where the hard part is understanding the value. But we've already seen Gabby and the community team like start to do things differently. It's not only HubSpot owned community properties anymore. It's Reddit, it's Sprocketeer, it's LinkedIn. Everybody's becoming more active where the conversations are. I don't know exactly what that would look like in terms of coaches and consultants, but I've even experimented with, the advocacy team, the affiliate program, right? And that's really just to be like, I think at the end of the day, if we're fighting for HubSpot out here, we want to know that HubSpot is fighting for us in there, right? And that has nothing to do with $15 a month or $400 a month, and everything to do with like, do you see us? Do you see what we're doing? We just want to know that you see what we're doing. Mm-hmm. And it would be nice to hear, like, I bet for most of us, just a mention of how important this other group of people is from time to time, and how, because we know behind closed doors and one-on-one conversations, it's clear that we're creating value internally. It's understood. And like, say it out loud sometimes, right? I think that's what we would all like to see. You mentioned next step. Like, I don't want to forget this point. Like, Profoundly, they're like posted pretty quickly about like helping, individual consultants like create relationships in the space. Like, if you're about to lose a gig because you're not going to have access to a partner seat, right? Profoundly is really focused on like strengthening the partner ecosystem right now. So they have lots of relationships related to helping, kind of introduce partners who do have partner seats and are ready and willing. Like, that's been a huge part of the conversation. Partners everywhere saying, yeah, if you need a place, to get help to get the link, like, come talk to us. Because there's a huge shortage of talent in spots, right? So figuring out how to bring this stuff together, I think, is what we're going to see a lot of people innovate on, over the next few months before August.
Yeah, we are coming up on the end. Real quick note, you mentioned the sales function, right? Like, if it's not driving revenue for HubSpot, it's not the best idea. I think, interestingly enough, the person I'm about to call out is on this call, and he probably has numbers, but I don't know how much Kyle Jepsen has been responsible for closing or upskilling within HubSpot, but there is no universe that you could look at me and say, Kyle Jepsen isn't responsible for HubSpot's growth or retention of clients, right? It's just like figuring out a way to prove that impact is the thing that's difficult. Kyle,
and importantly, I've never found a way to prove that impact.
So, I mean, that's kind of the point, right? If we could figure out a way to at least approximate to that, like, infinite approximation to me equals causation. So there's enough of Kyle's videos out there to where I could be like, sales requires a relationship, which requires trust. If you trust the guy in the orange hat, you're more likely to make a decision that benefits HubSpot because of his presence in the community. Anyway, Casey, do we have time for like a 30-second quick win of the week? Wanted to get to that before we hopped off and lamented George being gone. George, we miss you, buddy. See you next week.
Throw me in, coach.
Go ahead. We got a quick win, and then we will hop out and see you next Wednesday. But first,
this is the brand identity section of HubSpot. If you don't know about this, it has brand voice as well as your brand kit. And I actually found out this week that you can, for the brand voice and for what I actually used it for, which was brand colors, you can use a real URL. Just put your website in, click find colors. I already did it. And it will pop out the colors from your website. Worth reviewing. But if you are feeling overwhelmed and like you're constantly trying to find the colors, it's a really quick and easy way to just get started. And similar, you can do.
What's this value first thing, by the way? Nice little plug there.
I almost did my website. You're welcome, Chris. And then you can also do this with the brand voice section itself. I did not click to yes, update my brand voice. So all it did was, in this additional context section, it suggested things for me to potentially add based on the content on my website itself.
This is wildly useful, and shout out.
I feel like oftentimes the hardest part is getting started. And so I think this is a great way to just get started and always edit from there.
Yeah, and you can just get started, but unfortunately, we are about to just get stopped for the HubSpot helpline. I'm Rob, the mayor of Inbound. We're joined by Chris, Kyle, Casey. We'll see you next week, along with George B. Thomas, who will be fresh after his vacay. See you next Wednesday.
Hello. You've reached the HubSpot helpline. Helpline. It's Rob. It's George. It's Casey, Kyle, and Chris. Admin, call in, then tune in. You can't miss this. Every Wednesday at 10. Streaming straight from LinkedIn. Helping with HubSpot. Building community is our philosophy. And with we're so proud to be. Helping you with HubSpot. Orange juice so